Meet Satyavati, a 67-year-old living alone in the hilly district of Idukki. For years, she struggled to afford her heart medicines. Today, the same medicines worth 1,600 rupees are delivered to her doorstep every month under Kerala's welfare program. And she is not alone. More than 1 lakh people are receiving the essential support. The state of Kerala on 1st November 2025 became the first state in India to be declared extreme poverty free. How did the state achieve this milestone? And what lessons can other states learn from this model? Let's break it down. Hello and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Now, before I start the discussion, I have a very important announcement to make. Those who are appearing for the Civil Services Examination 2026, ensure that you have appeared for the multiple tests to evaluate the status of your preparation. On 23rd November, 11 a.m. as well as 5 p.m. in 2 slots, we are conducting Mega UCSE. Appear for the test. You'll be able to evaluate what is the status of your preparation. And if you score very good number of marks, you also stand a chance to win multiple rewards. Now let's start the discussion. Starting with what is poverty, how do you define it? There are 2 definitions. One, according to the Government of India, and the second one, the globally accepted World Bank definition. Let me start with the latter one. According to the World Bank definition now, if a person is unable to spend $3 per day, then the person is classified as extremely poor. And when you convert this $3 in terms of rupee on purchasing power parity basis, this roughly comes out to be around 62 rupees per day. So according to the World Bank, if an Indian is going to spend less than 62 rupees, the person is classified as extremely poor. Now in the context of India, the Government of India historically has been setting up the committees. The committees, based on certain studies or the surveys that they conduct, will submit the recommendation to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission will take the recommendations into consideration and come out with a poverty line. For example, according to the Tendulkar Committee, which gave recommendations back in the year or for the year 2011, if anybody is spending 860 rupees per month in rural India and 1000 rupees in urban India, anybody spending less than that is considered as poor. But compared to this particular approach, where the focus is on calorie consumption or the expenditure pattern, the Government of India later shifted to the concept of Multidimensional Poverty Index, MPI. Under the Multidimensional Poverty Index, which is published by NITI Aayog, we collect the data regarding the performance of many households or the individuals under 12 indicators. And based on the performance, we find out how much of the population is classified as extremely poor or poor. Now, in this particular context, in India, post Tendulkar Committee, although there is a recommendation of Rangarajan Committee, the Government of India has not used the Rangarajan Committee recommendation. Rather, we are following the concept of multi-dimensional poverty index. Now, let's come to the state of Kerala. What has the state of Kerala or the Government of Kerala done in this case? Rather than going with either the World Bank definition or using the NITI Aayog's multi-dimensional poverty index, the state government of Kerala has used a different approach. And this is a very good approach where we have been able to identify specific number of people, specific number of households which are not able to get access to the social welfare coverage that is provided by the state. You must have seen the state governments as well as the central government have implemented multiple schemes. Now, despite implementing these particular schemes, there are large number of people, because of various reasons, they are not able to get access to these welfare schemes. So what has the government of Kerala done? What has the approach been of this particular state government, which is different compared to what has been the practice in India so far? And what are the lessons which the other states can learn? Let's understand now. Back in the year 2021, the state government of Kerala announced EPEP. Extreme Poverty Eradication Program. Extreme Poverty Eradication Program. And under this particular program, what was the methodology followed? The government identified various stakeholders. It could be volunteers, it could be ASHA co-workers, etc. And they provided training to 4 lakh individuals. Listen to me, 4 lakh individuals. Now, these 4 lakh individuals went to multiple villages, multiple districts, and identified more than 1 lakh households under the first list of extremely poor. They identified more than 1 lakh households which were identified as extremely poor. Now, this particular 1 lakh list of households went through multiple rounds of verification. Further refining was conducted. They used multiple methods, multiple surveys, etc. to identify the exact beneficiary who requires the assistance from the government. And these particular beneficiaries were not getting access to any of these particular social welfare schemes implemented by the government. And this particular number, 1 lakh households, was watered down to 64,000 plus households. And the total number of beneficiaries who were classified as extremely poor was 1.03 lakh people. So from 1 plus lakh households, the number was reduced to 64,000 odd, and from these households, over 1 lakh 3,000 people were identified as extremely poor. And what was the categorization or the indicators used by the government to identify these people? The government used the scarcity of access. What is the scarcity of access? To what kind of services? There was a scarcity of access to housing. They did not get a secure access to housing. They did not get a secure access to healthcare, to livelihood, and food. Livelihood and food. So these kind of indicators were used by the government to identify these 1.03 lakh beneficiaries. Now, once these beneficiaries were identified, there was a micro plan. There was a micro plan that was prepared by the government. What do you mean by micro plan here? All the 64,000 plus households, they were covered under the different initiatives of the government. And these particular 64,000 households, there was a different plan specifically catering to these individual households. So micro plans were prepared to cover all these households which were classified as extremely poor. And the plans basically covered the short-term measures as well as long-term measures. Right? What are the examples here? Short-term measures such as access to subsidized food grains was provided. Long-term measures such as livelihood access was provided. Housing was provided. The land access was provided, etc. Even the scholarships, right? Let's say, etc. Different types of services to cater to or to address the short-term requirements of the households were also provided by the state government here. And with this kind of approach followed by the government, on the 1st November 2025, the state government has declared that the Kerala has become the first state in India to become free of extreme poverty. So this is essentially the methodology that has been followed by the state government of Kerala. Now, what are the issues with this kind of an announcement, and what are the challenges, and what should be the way forward? Point number one, listen to me very carefully now. The issues associated with this kind of announcement is the fact that what was the survey that was used by the state government to identify the beneficiaries? This particular survey, the details of it has not been released as of now. So there is a need to issue this particular survey so that the experts can look into it and comment whether the survey was appropriate, whether the sampling was appropriate, etc. Second important issue, it is important to ensure that the extreme poverty will go down. But at the same point of time, it is also equally important to ensure people will not fall into extreme poverty again. What do you mean by this? People who are involved in, let's say, agriculture, people who are involved in trading, etc., because of internal factors, external factors, change in the climate, etc., they might again lose the livelihood, fall into extreme poverty. It is important to ensure that the government will continue to provide assistance to ensure that the people will not fall into extreme poverty again. Point number three, under the context of issue or challenges. The government, on one side, says that the state of Kerala has become the first state in India to eradicate or to have zero extreme poverty population. But on the other side, under National Food Security Act 2013, NFSA 2013, under NFSA 2013, there are kind of beneficiaries which are called as Antyodaya beneficiaries. The Antyodaya beneficiaries are the poorest of the poor. So, on one side, the state claims that it has a zero extremely poor, but on the other hand, around 5.9 lakh people, around 5.9 lakh people are covered under the Antyodaya Anna Yojana, which are nothing but the poorest of the poor. So, there is some, let's say, disagreement. The experts on one side basically disagree with the fact that there are zero extremely poor when you are covering 5.9 lakh people who are poorest of the poor under the NFSA. So these are some of the issues or the challenges associated with this claim of the state government. So what is the way forward? What should be done by the state government going forward? The state government should ensure that there's a continued support in order to ensure that the people will be lifted out of poverty and the per capita incomes will increase. Along with that, the actual earnings of the poorest or they'll say lowest rung of the society, the earnings of these households will also increase. Because mind you, this particular state has a problem associated with industrialization. The unemployment rate, especially amongst women, I repeat, especially amongst women, is higher in this particular state. So the government needs to ensure financial support will be provided to the people, skilling will be provided to the population. In addition to this, the promotion of industrialization should be done so that sufficient number of jobs are provided and people will get formal jobs which will help them in earning sufficient amount of money and moving out of poverty or even moving upwards in the right, let's say, the society. So these are some of the recommendations that can be provided to this particular state government. But having said so, what are the lessons that other states must learn from this particular exercise? What should be the takeaway? Please understand this. Before I tell you what should be done by the state governments, other state governments, basically the state of Kerala, when you look at the inequality and the rankings of the states in terms of inequality, the state had one of the lowest inequalities. According to the NITI Aayog's Multidimensional Poverty Index, the score or basically the percentage of multidimensional poor in the state was 0.55%, one of the lowest in the states. So other states, there are multiple ones which have more than 10%, which have more than 20%, which have more than 30%. So it will be an unfair comparison if we expect the other states to implement these kind of measures and results are obtained in a very quick way. It is not going to happen. In fact, the state government of Kerala started implementing these measures back in the year 2021, and in 2025 they declared it to be free of extreme poverty. So other states, will it be easy? Absolutely no. But will it be worth it to implement these kind of measures? Absolutely yes. So first and very important measure, the other states or the lessons that should be a takeaway is how do you identify the population or the beneficiaries who require this kind of assistance from the government? Because multiple times it has been seen that the beneficiaries who should be included are excluded from the list of the beneficiaries, and beneficiaries who are included do not require this kind of assistance. In simple terms, emission and omission errors, right? The issue is there in terms of the coverage of the beneficiaries. So one, we need to take a very important lesson as to how to cover the beneficiaries under the list, under the beneficiary list. For example, many of the times a person who is living in the house is bedridden most of the times, will not be able to get access to multiple schemes because they are not able to submit documentation to the government. If you don't go to the house to find out whether they require the assistance or not, and you simply ask them to come to the office, this person will not be covered as a beneficiary. I'll give you one more example. Let's say a single mother is taking care of the child has certain problem. Now, you can't expect this particular mother to stop caring for the child and start taking care of household activities. Leave the child alone in the home, go outside to earn livelihood, etc. So, these are the kind of beneficiaries which most of the times are not covered under multiple initiatives of the government because we expect the beneficiaries to come to the government. So, one very important lesson, the government across the states need to ensure that the right beneficiaries are covered. And the second, the measures or the reforms which are implemented by the state governments should not be addressing only the short term requirements of the household. If you provide a short term relief, it will be like a band aid. It is not going to provide any kind of a long term solution to this particular problem. For example, let's say the government will provide you cash assistance, one time cash assistance. This kind of a cash assistance that is provided by the government is not going to resolve the problem of poverty that is faced by the household. It is just a band-aid. The people don't require just the band-aid. The government should implement, the state government should implement the long-term reforms as well in order to ensure there is a stable, sustainable livelihood source for them, which can be ensured by providing financial assistance in the form of microloans, in the form of, let's say, occasional training, in the form of, right, let's say, education, providing the healthcare, nutritional support, housing assistance, etc. Having said so, it doesn't mean that the states or the center are not doing enough. The argument is, are we implementing these initiatives in the right way? So these are the very important lessons that the center, or for that matter, the states, should take away from the exercise which has been conducted by the Kerala government in order to ensure that the issue of poverty or extreme poverty will be addressed. I know it's difficult, but do not forget, even the longest journeys that you have taken always begin with the small step. So that's a discussion from my side related to this particular topic. Now, associated with this, I've given an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me what is the right answer in the comment section of the video. How many of the following committees have been set up to recommend poverty line? Alag Committee, Tandilkar Committee, Rangarajan Committee, and Lakkadwala Committee. How many of these are associated with the recommendation regarding the poverty line in India? Do let me know the answer to this particular question in the comment section of the video. And if you like this particular video, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.